Hey, everybody.
Yay!
Welcome. Today, we are going to be talking about what happened yesterday, which is the State of the Union video from Russell. Hopefully, a lot of you got to watch that. If not, actually, let's put the link in the comments right now so it's at the top of our feed. And we're going to just I think the title of our video today is we're going to unbox it. We're going to cover we're going to, I guess, kind of sum up things that he said. We're not going to get all of it because it was almost an hour long. So definitely go watch it for yourself. But also, I got to pull up our feed. We're going to give some thoughts, some opinions. So this will be a little bit of that as well. So the other thing is we're going to try something new because we want to start bringing everything back to.
And hey, Madison.
Yeah, hello. We want to start bringing everything back to the geek formula.
Hey, Jason.
So what that means, I think I put it in our description of the video. It is the so the geek formula is actually, did I not? I'm looking. I'm like, no, maybe I didn't. Customer journey plus geek stack plus geek mods. We're gonna probably focus more on the customer journey area for this particular thing, but like, what is the play here for? Why did they put this video out? How does that fit into their customer experience? Anything else you want to add to that, Andrea?
I think that there's a lot in terms of why we continue to decide to back ClickFunnels. And we were actually talking this morning about, a lot of times we get asked, is it ready? Or if I have this scenario, should I move? And so we were talking a lot this morning about that. A lot of times that decision, we like to keep it real, but we also are unapologetically thanks. Hey, Lauren. We're unapologetically biased towards ClickFunnels. So we want the answer to be yes, go to ClickFunnels, but we also are going to maintain our own integrity and only recommend it if it is what's right for you, or we can back it with integrity. And so anyway, we were talking this morning just about that. And I think that what we saw yesterday, there's some of that teases out that we're going to talk about. So that's exciting.
Gotta unmute myself again. Okay.
Oh shoot, you're on mute, Susan.
I thought I unmuted myself. I was like, oh, I gotta unmute myself.
You're good.
Yes. Okay, so I'm putting the link into the comments. If you missed the video from Russell, the link is right in the comments. We're gonna not really watch it during this live stream, but we might like show some pieces of it just so we have some visual to go off of.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do we start? I guess maybe let's start on like kind of the new resource that they've given us and the idea behind the live stream to begin with. So they're calling, there we go. Here's the screenshot of Russell in the video. They're calling it Pulse. And Russell says that he's going to go live a couple times a week and give us updates. New announcements, maybe show us some things. So he has vowed to only show things that are ready. I think he's learned from past mistakes to not talk about things that are not ready, because then people are expecting them now and they're not ready now. So glad lessons have been learned, but I know it's hard when you're excited about something to like keep it inside. So I get it. But also it's hard to see on the bottom because maybe if I make this bigger, there we go. He has the down at the bottom, stay up to date by texting Pulse. So you guys could go and text Pulse to that number down there. And also that link, clickfunnels.com/Pulse, is this page. I can pull that up of basically it's the same resources that we've talked about before when you go into like the help center and you can access, like we post whenever we notice there's an update from the ClickFunnels dev team, and we've been linking to it in the group. But this is like a one-stop place to access the updates and the feature requests, because I guess a lot of people didn't really know that was a thing. Yeah. So It's just kind of some.
Which, by the way, in the Geekout community, just for everybody, we do have like we totally accept bribery towards one another to upvote your favorite feature. So just as a little reference for that one, bartering and bribing to upvote features that you want is totally acceptable in the Geekout community. So go for it.
Yeah. I at one point I was like, oh, I should just like go and find my favorite ones and post them in the group. And I think I did it like once or twice, and then I haven't since. So
Right.
if
Yeah.
you know of a really cool one, go and
Yeah.
post it in the Facebook
Yeah.
group. You guys can post them too. If you're like, this is really cool, let's upvote it.
Yeah.
We would love that.
Yeah.
So there's that. Okay. So that was kind of the whole intro of like, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Here's how we're going to be more communicative to you guys as the customers. The next thing that he went into was like, why hasn't there been a whole lot of communication? Why has he not been going live and talking about all this? Yeah,
Before
go ahead.
we go there really quick, Susan, I think I want to just say that I think there's so I did 8 years in the military and we had active conversations about leadership probably on a daily basis. And then we did, are you playing it? Oh, you're mute, Susan.
I'm trying to mute it.
Got it.
Yep, hit the mute button to pop back up. Sorry, it's like broken. There we go. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, continue.
Okay. Yeah. So we did I did 8 years in the military. We actively talked about leadership on a regular basis, 18 years in corporate as, kind of senior VP level corporate. And I'm not saying this about title, what I'm talking about is just about leadership, right? And the topic of leadership. And I think that there's this saying that nature abhors a vacuum. And so I think as Russell has grown to very large masses, right? The pendulum swing of the momentum of love and not love, of ClickFunnels, right, is a bigger pendulum. So I think we all were feeling it, right? Like the rising tide of 2.0 isn't meeting the expectation that we want. There's some things that are not there. And there's this vacuum of not enough coming from leadership, right? I think the ClickFunnels team is absolutely phenomenal and like what they're trying to produce and how they're trying to help and what their customer service is, right? But we came into ClickFunnels because we love Russell, right? Like Russell is the leader that we are choosing to back. And so I think in that, the whole nature abhors a vacuum, I think it was like this rising tide of there is not a lot of communication coming. And we'll talk a little bit about why, right? And his navigation of that. But I think that is what was starting to happen, right? It's like the masses. There's this really great book in the UX world. It's called The Inmates Are Running the Asylum. And it talks a little bit about this in terms of like when the masses start to like play off each other, right? Like you can feel it. It's this growing energy of like 2.0, blah, blah, blah. Like they're out to get us, right? So I think coming in as he has done and he has committed, at least in this, to continue to do, I think is really important just from a dynamic standpoint of that vacuum is not there, right? Like, and it's not fair. It's not fair to Russell, right? That this happens, but I think it's a natural phenomena of like, we choose to back a leader and then all of a sudden we have these crazy expectations of that, that response, even though, and go ahead, Susan, to what you were about to say of he explains why, which is, again, I have so much to say about that, but go ahead. Yeah.
So I think he gives 3 reasons, and for the life of me, I for some reason can't remember all 3 reasons since watching it yesterday. But basically, like the short end of it is life happens.
Yeah.
Yep. He had family. He's a coach for his son's wrestling team. That was every day afternoon. That's where he needed to be. It's just like it was the season, right? He's being a dad. Family takes priority over business, which I think most of us, hopefully all of us, can appreciate and respect. And then the other thing that
I think, sorry, just super quick too. Again, just so skillful and graceful on his part as a leader. And I think why we love him is he didn't just share his vulnerableness of how he wants to show up as a dad and a husband, right? He also invited all of us to make that same choice, right? And again, I think that's a beautiful invitation and a demonstration and why that attraction to Russell and why we all continue to stay in his circle, right? And so anyway, just a shout out of just it was very well done. And I don't mean well done as in a manipulation. I just mean well done as in a model that's noteworthy. Yeah.
100% agree.
And then also, we have a huge crew on, I gotta just say. So we've got Reggie, we've got Mark, we've got Gustav, we've got Chris. Like, shout out to all of you guys. I can't wait for you guys to hop on some of your comments too. Would love your feedback in the comments too as we go. But okay, go ahead, Susan. Another good one.
And if you guys watched it and you know the other reason that I'm forgetting, I feel like there were 3. But the next thing, I think, of course, we all are aware that the CEO of ClickFunnels and his best friend, Dave Woodward, passed away. That was November. Did I get that right? I don't feel like it. Maybe it wasn't November, December. Time is like, has no meaning to me right now. So, but he was, not just him passing away, but like the whole period before that, it was a lot going on. And then since then also of like, okay, I'm sure that there's some obviously there's ramifications from that. Thank you, Jason. 7th of December. So that was another thing. And we all, we respect that as well. Like that's a very valid reason.
Well, and that was for him as a person and as a company. I mean, so exactly. Like Russell, if we've been following his journey, right? Like he made this really big decision at the whole Tony Robbins event, right? Of like, I'm handing over CEO to Dave, you know what I mean? And then they were like on that trajectory, so just as a company, the upset, I can't imagine, just again, on a very personal level, but then also as a company, those are big, major life things that, to navigate in the middle of this massive launch. Yeah.
So those were the 2 things that stood out to me. I don't see anybody in the comments helping me with the other thing. It was less of a personal reason, and I think it was more of a
just because he had mentioned that the way that he used to do it was like Periscope or whatever, and so we didn't have like a channel, that it was like a habit of going live about his excitement about 2.0. And so he was talking, I think, just about like not having that steady habitual thing that he would go to share about the excitement, to say, hey, I'm still in it. Like I'm in it every day kind of thing. So that was the third one.
And that leads us to the next thing that he talked about is like, so he does a whole lot about, I kind of loved it, of calling out the cloners. Quote unquote cloners. He referred to them a lot in this video. And so I don't know who just left that comment, but he does point out like, even though he hasn't been like public, communicating and going live and stuff, he's in it every day. He is like the ultimate ClickFunnels user. And I guess a lot of people were giving him a hard time for buying companies and acquiring things of like, why do you have time to do this when you haven't even made ClickFunnels 2.0 great?
But even that question, right? Like even that question tells me that they don't understand what 2.0 actually is. 2.0, and I've said it a million times on the show, and I'm going to say it probably like a million more times. 2.0 is not a software as a service. It's a platform. It is a completely different play. And so acquisitions, and he talked about the Lady Boss APIs. That is how you build a platform, is you acquire companies, you work on those APIs, you bring them onto the platform, and that is just a necessary evil. And what that does for all of us, you guys, on a platform as a play, is eventually, right, that gives us an open market in order to also add to the platform. So it is huge in terms of another avenue in which ClickFunnels can work on our behalf, right?
So
anyway, just want to,
it's our beloved Dan Havey in the comments that I didn't know who this Facebook user is. But he brings up the other point. I think this was the third thing that I was trying to remember, is that when they launched 2.0, they let in 20K people in, and it was like, okay, there's like a whole lot happening. That's like the fastest way to learn what's broken with your thing, is to let an excessive amount of people in and use it. And I would also add to that, like, a lot of the people that came in from that initial launch challenge, they were not just new to 2.0, they were new to ClickFunnels and funnels. And so it was a lot more than just like, oh, let me teach you now how to use 2.0. It was like, no, let me actually teach you what a funnel is and how to use them and how you're supposed to build them. And now put on top of that, there were a lot of bugs in the software, a lot of them. I was actually reflecting on that yesterday of like, we reflect back to just a few months ago, like it has come such a long way.
It has, well, and I don't know about you, but I know like my agency has seen a spike, right? From people who like they're bought into ClickFunnels. And even like in our Geekout community, I think a lot of people are coming because they love what Russell does. They're willing to back. They're all in on funnels, right? But they don't really know, like they make the investment and then there's this bridge, right? Of like, I made the investment, but how do I actually do the thing? And so there's the like, I hope my investment was worth it, but I don't see a way to get over to this other thing. And so that's hopefully what will help to bridge in this community. But I think that there is a significant amount of those people that came in. And just one more note on that. They didn't just come in with a blank slate, right? They're coming in, which kudos to ClickFunnels, because this is what we were trying to do, right? They're coming in from Kajabi. They're coming in from Kartra. They're coming in from Teachable, Thinkific, right? Which is awesome. That's what we want to see. But it's not quite there yet, right? In terms of, that bridge. So anyway,
okay. So anything else that we want to make note of about those few topics before we move into other things that he brought up?
Yeah, other than just, so Madison said, I think it was closer to 100,000, which is amazing in the first funnel challenge. But I may be way off. And then a lot of totally new people who, not true believers. And I want to respond to that, Dan, because let's talk about what true believers mean, right? So like, I translate what you're saying, and I could be wrong. I translate what you're saying to be, true believers are out of the honeymoon phase. True believers are out of the romantic notion of ClickFunnels. True believers are like what a lot of us probably are, right? Of like, ClickFunnels can, mess up, and they can, do things that we wouldn't agree with, or we don't necessarily like, or that something has a bug, right? But at its essence, we're on board. We are unapologetically biased towards it is who we are choosing to back, who we're choosing to invest time and energy into, and who we're going to set our sights on. Might not be ready right now, but that is where we're going, right? And that to me is a true believer. So I think we're on the same page, Dan, because we have a lot of conversations about that, but that to me is, and so when you say they weren't true believers, I think they were believers, but like in that honeymoon phase. Would you agree with that, Susan?
Yeah. Is this also down with this follow-up of true believers is users who are battled, hardened, and will never leave ClickFunnels.
Yep.
We're here for the ride.
Yeah.
So
hands up, we.
Okay. So the next bit of the video, he moves into more of, would you say, talking about, I guess, giving people almost an orientation, it felt like, of like, okay, if you are new and you have been struggling, I'm going to give you like a quick orientation to like where you should start, what's working.
Yeah. He said something really important right before he transitioned into that, though, that I think, again, is the whole community, right? So he talked about how the other platforms, right? Competitors, or he called them posers. Is that what he called them? Yeah.
Cloners.
Anyway, cloners. That's right. Cloners. He talked about like they don't use their own platform, which I, can't say whether that's true or not, but I do appreciate that Russell's in there doing the thing, right? But he also talked about that they got investment capital, right? Like they got investors. And I think and this could just be totally my own bias because of my own lashes from being in the startup world and dealing with a lot of investors. But one of the reasons I love ClickFunnels is that they aren't backed by investors and that they are controlled by Russell and Todd and ClickFunnels directly. That is a really big deal. It's almost like for those of you who like have, your own things around, like I only buy local, or I only buy grass-fed hens, like it's kind of similar to that of like, I choose to back companies that are not backed by investors because of what that does. I know what that does internally to a company. And so anyway, he made comment of that, and I love that. And for all of us who have been in corporate and dealt with investors, I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Jason brings up a point that Russell also made in the video. Like we could have sold the company and made a lot of money, but we didn't. And that's because we don't care about the money. We care about giving the best thing, the best product. They're here to serve their people.
Yeah.
Money is not an issue for them at all at this point in their lives.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I missed that other one, helping bootstrapped entrepreneurs by bootstrapped entrepreneurs.
Bootstrap, baby. All right.
Okay. So I think what came next was he moved into the space of like, okay, I'm going to show my screen, and actually maybe I can grab where he did this. Talking about like, okay, here's just like a quick like rundown. A lot of people have been having an issue and asking the question of like, why go and make, and Andrea kind of addressed this at the beginning a little bit, but you can state your thought on that, Andrea. Not even thought, but fact of why are you guys making a whole new thing? Why didn't you just make improvements to 1.0? Why did you go and like basically like mess all this up? Like, why couldn't you have just kept the original thing and then just make it better? And do you want to just like quickly say like the reason why?
Well, honestly, I think Catherine Jones probably said it the absolute best in her blog article, right? That they're not redoing this is not a software play. This is a platform play. This is a whole new game. And I think that they were right in that decision. I think if they just decided to remake a funnel software, there's enough competition out there that it would have been, a saturated market, or at least a market where they are category kings, but it wasn't a big enough differentiator anymore, right? Now having a funnel software is kind of table stakes. And so they had to do something fundamentally bigger in order to remain in that status of category king. And I do think that the platform as a play and all of the things that they're planning on doing, it is just fundamentally different. It is I think Susan or Catherine talks about in her blog of like, it's the tide that rises, right? Like this is a tide rise. This is not like a little wave.
Yeah. And we haven't even seen what that means yet. We are still in the infancy of what ClickFunnels 2.0 is going to be. So he goes through and for the people that are like, I'm used to ClickFunnels 1.0 or classic. And now I'm in 2.0 and I'm totally lost and I don't know what to do. He kind of addresses that of like, and I hadn't ever actually thought of this in this way, but I kind of appreciated it. He just navigated. He's like, okay, if you go to site and funnels and then you click on funnels, see if I can grab a screenshot. So now he's in funnels. He's like, this is 1.0 right here. Like you just have to go here and here. And now you're in classic. You're in 1.0. Like this is the funnel builder.
Right.
Now you're in the funnel builder area.
Right.
There's some differences. Obviously, there's improvements made to the editor, which I'm loving the new editor. It's awesome. It's like classic editor, but better and hands down amazing.
I still, just to keep it real, I still get kind of frustrated because I'm still hitting some bugs, but I agree that overall it is better. It is better. 100%. Yeah.
And then there's some differences like the way that you set up products is different. And then there's the whole like marketing and follow-up funnels and all that is
Yeah, but this is where, and maybe I'm going there too fast, Susan, but this is where he's 100% right? Like he absolutely, there's nothing in here that I would disagree with what he said. But I think and this is where is a little bit of a, that's not quite accurate. You know what I mean? Like that's an oversell is that, you're saying like 2.0 is so much better than 1.0. Okay. At an architectural level, at a future level, at a potential level, 100% I agree. At a right now today, right? So even me, like I have 5 clients right now where we're like trying really hard to make that transition to 2.0. But what I'm finding is like a lot of the stuff, like what we do with CF Pro tools, right? So I'm making a Mifke offer and I want to be able to see, free and then a shipping line and a summary and right? Like we can't do any of that right now in 2.0. And I know that this is super picky, but like for those of us who have been in 1.0 and we know what that experience needs to be, it's not that right now. Like if it is just pure straight, here's a product, here's the price point of that product, and the universal products are great. You know what I mean? Like it's as long as it is simple, as long as what you are building is simple and you don't care about those nice customer experience ads, then 2.0 is great, but it's not accurate in that it's better than 1.0 on that front yet. And so that's where I felt like it was a little bit of an oversell, and again, I say that as I know they're going to get there, but right now, if you have the choice between 1.0 and 2.0, I think you still have to weigh those decisions.
Well, he even brought up the point of like, he's like, guys, I know that there's not a 2-step order form in there. Like, I know it, like I need it for my own stuff too.
Right.
And he very much reiterated over and over again, like he knows the pains that we're going through. That's why he buys companies. That's why he's still the funnel builder in those companies, so that he is using it. He's drinking his own Kool-Aid. He's doing what is the other phrase? Eating the dog food or whatever.
Food, yeah, the dog food,
yeah. He's in there doing it. And I appreciated that. It's not like it's news to me, but I think there's a lot of new people that don't realize that. Like,
well, and not only that, again, coming from software world, right? Worked with a lot of software companies, a lot. I cannot think of a single CEO that I ever worked with in the software world that was in their product as much as Russell is. That is saying something. That is huge. So I think that is a really good. It's good. That's really good.
Yeah, really good. And then of course he highlighted some of the differences of, it looks a little bit different when you're in the funnel area. You got the funnel workflow view. And so a lot of the video was just kind of him. And again, like, go watch it if you want to. We're not going to repeat everything he said. Yeah. We're only halfway through this thing, but showed the differences. Anything else that I'm forgetting that we wanted to talk about this piece?
I think what it challenges me, and again, I know you and I talk a lot about this, Susan, and I would love everybody else's, who's joining in to hear your perspective. So we have said we're unapologetically biased, that we are going to ClickFunnels. We still actively tell people that 2.0 isn't ready yet on certain situations and conditions, right? We try to keep it real. And because there's so many changes happening so fast, right? I think Dan, Susan, and I are in a DM, and we constantly, probably like every day, are like, hey, would you recommend 2.0 yet for this? Hey, I have this client situation. Are we ready yet? Like, this is a daily conversation for us, right? So where I was going with this is, he talks about all these things, but it's like, and you and I were talking about it. It's like so I have what I'm realizing in myself, and I wonder if other people struggle with this. So I am building in 2.0, I hit bugs, right? And then I get frustrated, and then I go back to 1.0 where I'm comfortable. And then in my mind, I have that solidified, like, 2.0 is not ready, right? And I have to almost come back to that question every day. And, thank goodness that I have this community and Susan and Dan to keep me honest, because I even find myself, who's true believer bias, right? I find myself wanting to default to 1.0 because I know that it works and it's reliable. And I have this like taste from something that happened in 2.0, right? Where I'm like, it's not ready yet. And I have to constantly revisit that question every day, because it seems like it's always changing, right? And my own bias, even with, my own or my own experience doesn't trump my bias sometimes. And I go back. So I know I'm rambling a little bit, but it's almost like I have to like refresh, like, hey, I'm committed to 2.0. Keep me honest. I'm going to say no to this. And I think you've pushed back on me. Nicole has pushed back on me. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Several times. I'm like, Andrea, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like, let me walk you through it. Maybe if you understood something, like, or didn't see something. And I think a lot of us go through that of like, actually, like, if we just, it doesn't matter if it's a brand new software, a brand new platform, or like they've been around for years and we're using it for the first time. There's always a learning curve. There's always, like, you have to go learn how it works. Yeah. And we say that all the time about like, I think most of you guys know, like, even in 1.0, we use it, but we like use it beyond what it was made for out of the box. Like, we do a lot of custom stuff in there. And we always are saying, like, you have to understand the rules before you can break the rules. And right now with 2.0, we're still learning what the rules are. And we are in this period of time where those rules are changing. Like, we know that they're going to make changes to the courses area because they are aware. That was one of the things that Russell said in the video yesterday, is he's like, again, I think maybe this was a little bit of an oversell, but he was saying how that the courses membership area in 2.0 are the best in the world. But he admitted that was oversell.
That we can have that conversation, but that one I felt pretty comfortable. That was an oversell.
I think that the intention there was like the power that's behind it of what will be, is at least I hope, like, that's in my mind. Like, I hope what he meant. But he 100% admitted, like, there is a user interface issue right now that we're trying to get worked out. Like, it is difficult and complex to use. And I don't know where I was going with that, but those are the things that we're kind of looking at when we're deciding, like, do we want to, is it ready or is it not ready? I forgot where I was going with that point. So Andrea, what
No,
else?
well, I think that, yeah, so the oversell, and I think too, just at an architectural level, he made this really interesting comment that sometimes, we have to work on the architecture and we have to catch up on the front end, the UI, for you guys to realize the power of the architecture. And I think in, classic software development, I would 100% agree with that. Now, I do think that they don't necessarily follow a user-centered design process. And so I think sometimes when you do that, it can help improve that gap. But I do think it is true that sometimes it takes a little while before the customers realize the investment in the architecture. So I think that's a true statement. But I think in the area of memberships, especially because, with Dan and, Susan and I, that's kind of that's our deep zone of expertise. I mean, we are maybe finding some architectural problems, right? And so anyway, that's a side. So membership, we might be, really, kind of picky or snobby about what we would expect to see there. But
Yeah.
interesting comment too. I just want to, in the interest of sharing. So Chris, shout out to you. I said, I wish you would have owned it. I respect and love Russell, and I'm so all in for building. And I really wish he would have just owned it all. Said, this is what we're fixing. This is what to expect and when. We sold you this. It wasn't ready, and that's on me. And before anyone gets defensive, I know it's a lot of pressure. I can't imagine. I get it. Yeah, 100% agree with you, Chris. Yeah, 100% agree with you. And this is where actually on the leadership thing, this is where it's always this interesting thing of, so I am not going to claim to be an expert in leadership, right? But one of the topics that we often talk about is that when you're in kind of triage mode, right? People need very strong leadership. So when there's a lot of chaos and when there's a lot of like, I don't know what to do, you need somebody that's more of like a ruler, right? To come in to be like, guys, we're going here. It is all good. Let's go, right? It is needed. But then when it's not as emotionally peaked, right, you can kind of swing back more towards this leadership strategy of servant leadership, and let me listen to you and I'm here for you, right? Because there's more of a tolerance for that type of leadership. So I wonder, and they of course see the data and see the rising tides, right? What I saw in that presentation yesterday of Russell of like, I wonder if it's like he's feeling like it needs to be a little bit more heavy-handed leadership. You know what I mean? In terms of like, it's good, like we can do this, instead of Chris, to your, to what you were saying of we shouldn't, we maybe shouldn't have launched the way we did or, sold it as we did. Right. And that's on me. Cause I think that can backfire when you're in like high triage mode. Right.
Yeah.
And so
I think as you were saying, there's that saying of like, don't share, like share your wounds, but not when you're still
share your
bleeding or
scars, not your
something.
wounds, or
Yeah, your
something like that.
scars, not your wounds,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where we're at. I
Mhm.
know that someday Russell is going to share the full story, the full reflection, lessons learned type of story, because that's the person he is. And we've seen him do that time and time again.
Yeah.
But right now we're still in it. Like we're still going through getting the scars. I think maybe those scars are on the healing side. The wounds are starting to become scars. But I think that that's maybe what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we covered all of the points that Russell made. I'm just going to click through this, see if there was anything else. Yeah. And then at the end, he just kind of made sure everyone knew. If you're just joining us, that number on the bottom, text pulse to that number, and then that site is how you can stay connected to the updates. And he's going to be doing the pulse multiple times per week, sharing. Okay, so we haven't talked about this part yet, but I think a lot of us felt like, oh, I'm so excited for the State of the Union. He's going to address like we were expecting some announcements.
Yeah.
We were expecting like, okay, here's what's coming up and coming up soon.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that.
We
And I
didn't.
think
I
that
was
a
a little
lot of us
disappointed in
felt
that too. I'm like,
disappointed.
"Oh."
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that he did address why we didn't get that, but I do feel
Yeah.
like the State of the Union was sold to us as that. So a little bit disappointed. Expectations weren't quite aligned.
Yeah.
But he did say that he one of the mistakes that he's made in the past is talking about things that are not ready.
Yes.
And he is going to do his best to be very careful about not doing that.
Yeah.
So he's only going to be talking to us about things that are ready, things
Yeah.
that are there, things that are being, that are now like they're rolling out to us, but not the things that are not ready. So that we're not like, oh, why can't we have this now? And we're disappointed when it's not there in our accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what would be really interesting in the ready not ready. So right now in 2CCX, right, there's a really big push on this whole thing of like build your continuity in your membership, then build your MIFKI, then your dramatic demonstration, right? Like there's this really big push on that right now. So I'm having a lot of conversations around how do you build a membership? And of course, we've talked a little bit about that. And then, okay, and now how do you build your MIFKI? So I've had a number of MIFKI projects that have come in. And I know that in the MIFKI that he built for Dan, there's custom code in that. Like there's custom code, right? So I would love in his like State of the Union of they are using it in ClickFunnels. I would love kind of like a more of a naked, like this is what I can do in ClickFunnels right now and how I would recommend you do it if you want to use 2.0 without the custom code stuff, without the bells and whistles. Because again, like if you show us, we'll follow. You know what I mean? If you show us, we'll try it. But I think you've given us the bells and whistles and we know what we could do in 1.0, that it's like, how might we rethink in 2.0 current capability to let us try to push and use it? That would be so cool. I don't know if that's even possible, but I think that would be cool if you would share that with us.
The other thing is that it's like, if they, he did bring up like they have custom coded stuff in some of the membership areas that they've put. I think, Dan and I were looking into the market, so Dan Havey and I were looking into the membership area for Dan Kennedy's stuff. And we're like, we don't see custom code in here, but I think we weren't looking in the right spot or something. But we do know that there's a ton of custom coded stuff in the 2CCX Funnel Builders course members area. And I think like we know, I feel like we know through the grapevine and connections, and Dan shows up to a lot of the calls with the team that's teaching people a lot of stuff. In that we knew like they're working on some of the custom code. Actually, I think he said it in the video yesterday. Yeah. Like there is some custom coded stuff and they are so cool and they worked really well that now they're trying to figure out how to turn them into elements to use inside of the accounts for everyone. So like, I think it would be cool in the future on these Pulse episodes if he pointed out stuff like that, like, okay, this sidebar thing, this is one of the custom coded things that we've done. We're working on this. Yeah. We hope it's going to be able to be like that. Like, I feel like it would be safe to venture into that space of like, here's what we're working on, but not saying like, here's what we're going to give you next month, like, and then not deliver on it. I think there's a big difference between the two, but I would like to see some content of him talking about like, here is what we are working on.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be so cool if he did like an over his shoulder of him building? Like that'd be, I would love that. I would love to watch Russell build. Like that would be incredible.
And building in 2.0. Like he has, does he still do the funnel? I don't think he does. The funnel
with Jim. I don't think he's done that in a while.
Yeah. That with 2.0. Yeah.
And even with that, I think it was Jim pretty much that built a lot of it, right?
Well, there was a time when it was like Russell doing a lot of it, of like they would just grab a viewer's funnel and then like go and build it or something.
Yeah.
Or their ideas. Yeah. So any of you ClickFunnels employees that are currently watching,
we got a couple of them. Yeah, shout out to you guys. And again, thank you guys so much for joining and contributing. We always appreciate when you guys are here and present and supporting your community. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. Funnel Fridays. That's what I was trying to think of.
Funnel Fridays.
Yeah. Just build funnels on Friday. That would be cool.
Awesome.
Okay. So I think, that's
the only other thing that we had talked about is like, so Russell, of course, has his Pulse page, which we're going to be tuning into. It'll be a topic on Friday's conversation. Susan and I, going back to the conversation that we regularly have on a daily basis of like, is it ready yet? knowing, again, unapologetically, we're biased, we're going in that direction, but is it ready yet? We had some really good use cases on the hot seat yesterday that Susan was telling me about like, hey, I'm in this situation. Should I move? Or I have all this, like, what's like right now, I have a lot of stuff coming in on like WordPress rip outs, which I love seeing, but of course they have blogs. And so we're having that conversation of like, is it a good idea? Do we, go to ClickFunnels or Medium? Like, all of those. So anyway, we thought maybe, similar to how Russell has his pulse, we were talking like, hey, we need to have a page that captures some of this. And we'd love the community buy-in too, of just, we've talked a lot about like our readiness scale and our reliability scale, but going through and being like, hey, situation came up. Here's the question. Is it ready? And here's the Geekout recommendation. And just having more of that like in a public setting so that, again, and is it ready yet? Right? That's the biggest one. And it could be like updates daily. Subscribe to the is it ready yet on this particular question, but something we're thinking about if that might be helpful to share some of those conversations.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments if that is something. I have this. Let us know in the comments if that's something you would like to see. You guys have seen our kind of readiness scale and reliability scale in the past. I think we used it last week, where we kind of give our rating of the different not like the features, but the functionality of that specific feature. Does it hit our marks on like, would we use it? Would we tell clients to use it? Would we feel comfortable taking someone's money and telling them that we'd be able to do that thing or use it? So that's what our scales are based off of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
What else?
I think that's it. Other than hopefully this also starts a conversation. We'd love to hear you guys' perspective. Lots of really good stuff in here. And if you guys see anything on the pulse that you're like is noteworthy in Geekout community, we'd love to chat about it. And then again, if you guys want to start bartering for feature vote ups, let's go. I think those are the big ones.
Okay. Thanks for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, come join us in the Facebook group. That's where a lot of the action in our community is happening. The link is in the description of this video. And if you are watching us in the group, we love you. Thanks for tuning in, and let us know what else, anything else that you're like, I really wish they'd talk about this. Let us know, because we are happy to talk about anything and geek out on anything related. Yeah. All right. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys later.